Today's sponsor, 3D Classic Car Parts. They make 3D printed truck parts for your classic truck. Check out 3dclassiccarparts.com.
So I just want to dispel the myth of fuel systems. First, every new Mustang is doing a pulse width modulated returnless system.
Ford F100 World Podcast. Ford Trucks 24/7. A builder support community on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and podcast. Want to know more? Join, follow, like, and share. No commercials, just Fords. What is going on, guys? Welcome to F100 World Podcast. We got another one for you. Fat Fender Garage, Jason Knoll, or Noel, however you wish. You guys seen his stuff, you've seen his trucks, and I wanted to sit down and have a talk with him. Last year I was able to go to his shop, and I was really highly impressed. The quality stuff that Fat Fender has to offer, and in that genre of stuff. And I like techie stuff, so I just went ahead, asked him some details about the company, some of his products. He educated us on some fuel system stuff. I couldn't understand much of it, but it made me want to Google it. So I've learned a lot about fuel systems then, and now I would like to have fuel injection someday, maybe not now, on my Black 68. So we sat him down, man. He's always a trooper, really good talker, and has a lot of information. And he's kind of had some stuff to debut. They've debuted a lot. And so what he wants to talk about today is on the techie side. So I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. And I want to say thank you to Jason for jumping on here. I think at that time he just got back from a vacation. So, had plenty to do and went ahead and just sat down in his office and took a couple hours to do the podcast. So I really appreciate that, dude. I hope you guys enjoy the podcast, and definitely check out what Fat Fender has to offer on socialmedia.com. And anywhere else you can find them. YouTube is my favorite location for that Fat Fender stuff. We'll get right into it, and we appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Enjoy. Jason Knoll, what's going on, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
And I'll tell you what, dude, you were out in the mountains not too long ago, which seemed like fun. So thank you for taking some time out of I assume you just got back to work to do a little podcast with me, man. How you been?
I've been doing really good, and it's always fun to visit with you. It's always fun to have you out to Arizona, so we got to make sure
Oh
you
yeah,
come
we
out
got to make
here.
that happen. Yeah.
Yeah, we always love having you out, but always good to visit with you. And of course, we love catching up at the F100 Grand Nationals.
Yeah.
Those are always fun to catch up with friends, and that's kind of what really I enjoy about the truck scene. And this F100 community is just the friends that you make, and because at the very end of all of this, trucks are really, really cool and fun, but the relationships you build with the people, and helping them either complete their product or just talk. I mean, it's funny. We'll go to these shows, and somebody like, I got an old pickup truck, and then in goes the hand to the pocket.
Oh yeah.
Out comes the phone. Then they go to pictures, and they'll say, hey, do you got time to look at my truck? And I'm like, of course I do.
Yes.
And so then we go, as he skips past, all the things he doesn't want me to see. Then he finally finds
It's here somewhere. Hold on. Yeah.
hold on. Oh, don't look at that. And you're just kind of like, and then we get to the truck. But they're so excited about sharing something that is so passionate to them, and to know that we're passionate about it as well. So it's fun. I love the community, so I'm excited.
I was going to say, yeah, for sure. Like, at the shows and stuff, whenever you get to hang out with those friends, or you see or meet new people, stuff like that, it kind of makes you excited, and you want to like kind of give back in some ways and stuff. So you actually have something that you want to announce, and I'd like to mention it later, that you plan to do at the Grand Nationals, I think. But
yes,
like you said, though, it's about like, that's their passion. They love what they do. You love what you do. And you mentioned something when we were talking earlier, and I really liked how you said it. I think you said it exactly as to resto mod or to not resto mod.
yes.
And I think that's like, a thing that people are really thinking about right now is, how far do I go in a resto mod? What do I need? What do I don't need? Things like that. You've been doing this. You're kind of the resto mod company. That's one of many things that people know your name about.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us, should we resto mod or not resto mod, and why?
So I can appreciate a very stock truck with a straight six in it, all original, And there's just something about that feels, just very connected to the past.
Hmm.
And it's special. Like you look at those and you're like, oh, this is a really special truck. It's super cool. And you connect to the past in a different way than you do with a resto mod vehicle.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't know that you have to resto mod everything. Like I'm not a proponent of resto modding everything. I think you just have to find out your purpose, and you might decide, hey, this one I'm not going to resto mod, but this other truck I'm going to resto mod, and you'll just have a different feeling about it. But um, for us, it is all pedal to the metal resto mod. Let's make him fun. Let's make him to where you can drive him every day, all day across the country. Like that's what we're shooting for, is to put people driving their trucks daily if they choose to, right?
Yeah.
So there's that is really fun. Also, it's hard to run a business if you're just only selling, you know, one or two things, and so you got to create a product line that helps people, grow and expand. So, but I'm a huge fan of not resto modding, believe it or not. If it's the right vehicle and it makes sense, don't resto mod that thing. Keep it pretty stock, but just save it. Maybe it's you just run down to Ace Hardware, on Saturday only, and you just take the old girl out, stretch her legs for an hour, and then you're done, right? You're
Yeah.
you're all
Yeah.
done. You park it away till next Saturday, but it's not the one that you're probably going to want to drive, across the country and go to
Yeah.
a show or something like that. Might not be the one. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think really your company's, I think from my perspective, known for a lot of the, hey, this is what people want, can we do it? Or maybe an innovative side of it. For example, someone brings their old truck out that their dad or their grandpa have, but now they have kids, so they want to make it safe. So they want
mhm.
to get your front end because it stops really well. Or, maybe they've always wanted to do really good burnouts or have good traction or whatever. So they go
Mhm.
for your rear end setup. And then, so I feel like it's more resto modding is probably more of like you said in the beginning, like what's your goal? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And your goal might change throughout time. You might just want
Oh
to
yeah,
enjoy the original for a
definitely.
while, like you said, and then okay, I want to go fast, and then you're like, well, I want to stop really well. And then, it's a
Yeah.
wonderful like, I'll tell you what, when I started building my black truck so many years ago, and it kind of ended up where it is now, and I'm changing it again, but I would have never guessed that's where it's going. And that's
Yeah.
kind of, I feel like what's cool about jumping on your website is you have a lot of options. And I think that might be your kind of your MO, isn't it? Like, can it be done? And let's figure
Yeah.
out how and
Can
why,
it be done, and can I make it better, and could it look a little
There you go.
different? And so we want to be able to provide options and drivetrain packages and just different things to kind of meet the customer's goal.
Hmm.
But at the same time, realizing we can't be everything for everyone, right? There's an LMC out there that works and helps people with that
Yeah.
stuff. And we're not at all interested in competing against these really large, massive, original part companies. That's kind of like doesn't make sense. We're competing over a $35 door handle, right?
Right.
So that just doesn't make sense. But this is where somebody's like, well, what if I could make mine a little bit different and a little bit
Mm.
nicer? Could I get some custom
Yeah.
door handles? I'm like, yeah,
That's kind of,
absolutely.
yeah. That's kind of how I am is like, I want to keep it how it looks, maybe, but like, I want it to be unique to me. So
Yeah.
you offer things like that, which is kind of cool, like
Well,
fancy
but
door
but
handle and stuff.
but then you don't want to go so crazy like you build this like awesome door handle or whatever it is, and it's so
Yeah.
cool, but nobody wants it on their vehicle because it doesn't really look very period correct. And
Mm.
so there's this trade-off, like, yeah, we could make it look so wicked and awesome, and you might sell like two a year because guys are building something to that level. But
Mm.
for the most people, they're just wanting a little upgrade, a little nicer, make it a little
Hmm.
cleaner. And so that's kind of how we approach it here, is just like, hey, we're just here to improve what Ford did in the 50s, 60s, 70s, right? We
Hmm.
want to improve on that. And because technology's better, we're smarter with certain things, and we're doing things a little bit different today. And so we just want to improve it and make the trucks better.
That kind of leads me to the next question, actually. And I definitely want to get back onto some of the stuff you do, like your front suspensions and what engines you recommend and stuff like that. But why? Why do you do what you do at Fat Fender?
Well, I am obsessed with details,
Mm,
and I'm obsessed with um, things being done correctly, being done efficiently, being done quality driven, and in a time frame that feels acceptable. Now, what feels acceptable to me might not always feel acceptable to everybody else, but
hmm
we're trying to meet all those demands. But um, so, like for instance, when I first started this, it was just me and a couple guys. That was it, you know. And we were just, doing some stuff to trucks, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people out there that have a tiny little shop with them and a couple guys. I mean, it existed that, and we started there, and we were there, even probably 10 years ago. That was us, and so. But what happened is, we would send a truck out to get painted, and then we'd wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And I'd be like, holy crap, like this is
Yeah.
taking forever. And I was like, well, did the carpentry in my former life, and I
Yeah.
know my way around a spray gun, and it can't be this hard, and so I'd always tell myself that can't be that hard. And so here I'm down at the paint store buying a bunch of stuff, and how do I mix this, and how do I do this, and did a couple trucks that we sold that I don't want anybody to know where those came from. They probably weren't, the best thing out there,
To your
but
standards today, yeah.
definitely not to our standards, and definitely we were learning on those, and I'm sure they've been stripped and repainted by now. But so there's this constantly wanting things to be better. So the paint and body work, needing to have good mechanics and good guys that could wire, and getting into the same situation with like upholstery. It's like having a hard time finding upholstery where it didn't feel like I just went to, I took my truck and sent it to prison, and who knows
hmm
when I'm going to get it back. And so there's this thing where I want it to be good for me and for the customers we service. But then I'm always saying, well, if we have figured something out that works good for us in a system and a process, let's share that with
Yeah.
everybody else too, so that we can help everyone else that's in their home garage saying, geez, I don't want to take it to the upholstery shop or paint shop. It'll be in
hmm
prison forever. So we want to just be able to, like, give people the confidence
Yeah.
and the reassurance that there's a company there that will help you get through it, stand by you, help you with tech support, and hopefully give you the courage to maybe tackle these projects yourself.
That's cool. Yeah. I kind of like the techie side of stuff, and I like watching some of your Instagram videos and stuff because I see you like the outcome of some of the stuff you've done. And I'm always
Uh-huh.
like, how'd they do that? Like
Mhm.
how'd they do that? So,
Yeah.
I think it's another thing too I really liked when I visited your shop is you're very all about if somebody is interested in doing something like say an employee or someone that wants to
Uh-huh.
build something, whatever, you're all about supporting that and giving them what they need and the opportunities and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
that's really kind of awesome that it's not just, your idea or anything like that necessarily. It's just like, let's figure this out and let's get it good. Let's teach this
Yeah,
person what's their specialty. And that's kind of cool.
it is. And I look at all the people we have. We have about 75 people that work for us now.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I'm outnumbered, right? So I can
Yeah.
come out with my idea, and then there's going to be 75 people out there that think my idea is stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm joking. They don't really say that, but I think probably in the back of their mind, why are we always doing Jason's ideas? Now, I don't ever approach it that way, but I always just realize that I have 75 resources
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
my shop of people who have a different idea likely than mine. And so before we go down too far, we will try to like bring people in and discuss stuff. Now, especially if there's a problem in the shop,
Yeah.
I'm like, well, we got an issue here. How are we going to fix this? What's the problem? And we gather, like a half a dozen to a dozen people together, and we'll talk about it and use the resources we have, and we usually will come up with an idea that works pretty well and that accomplishes it. There's some we have some of the best guys here that come up with some of the best solutions and just the, ways to do things that are different and better than what we've ever done. And so it's constantly moving and adapting and getting better because I allow my guys their creativity to think and to offer solutions that oftentimes get adopted into what we do here.
That's really cool that you do that because if you think about it, that's why we go like just, why we go to our garages and our shops to work on our trucks is to figure it out, come up with the best solutions. You go to shows,
Hmm.
maybe you go on Ford for 100 World, I don't know. Maybe you go on Instagram and just look for ideas
Hmm.
and go, "Oh, that's a good idea." Or maybe take someone's idea and kind of make it your own on your own truck and things like that. I mean, that's really kind of it's awesome that you can access 75 you know, opinions and possibilities to change it as
Most of the
like you
time,
said.
most of the
But I mean, that's cool. That's really cool.
time.
You know what I mean? And it's like it shows your innovation through over time, It's
Yeah.
just trial and error and things like that, which is pretty epic, dude. So
Yeah.
actually on the techie side, which I like, what was like the hardest whether it's suspension or your frames or, what you do with paint or all of your products that you guys do or engines or stuff like what it was one of the hardest things that you remember having to figure out when doing maybe a build or figuring out your suspensions and so on.
Yeah. Well, boy, that's a great question,
It's been
Craig.
years, yeah, so there's probably a
Yeah, it's a
lot.
great question. I will say electrical wiring
Hmm.
is probably one of the things that will trip up just about any good shop.
We just want to say thank you to today's sponsor, 3D Classic Car Parts. They make 3D printed truck parts for your classic truck. Check out 3dclassiccarparts.com.
And
Trips me
because
up.
if not done well,
Yeah.
then it's done poor. So I'm saying it's either right or
Mm-hmm.
it's wrong. There's no like, well, close enough with electrical wiring. So
Yeah.
you'll just have like things back feeding and you're just like, what the frick is going on here? And so you're constantly just, trying to figure out where like, does this need to be a shielded wire? Why is there a lot of noise in here? What's wrong with the radio? And you just everything just kind of like cascades with electrical wiring.
Hmm.
Everything else can be perfect, but if you've got a truck going down the road with electrical problems, you just want to burn it down to the freaking ground. You get so pissed off.
Hmm.
And so those are the things that I have found that over time have probably been the things that have caused us the most heartache and pain is
Yeah.
electrical wiring. Now, with all that said, about 8 months ago, I'd had enough. Like I just threw my hands in the air. I was like, I am pissed. We get electrical wiring about like 95% good, and then we'll chase the last 5% out. And it
Really.
will it will cost us so much time and money doing that, just trying to get all that stuff right that I'm like, and it's always something stupid, something stupid. But again, I finally had enough, Craig. I just said, hey, I'm done. I hate electrical wiring. I hate all this stuff. Like it's just it's a rabbit hole we jump into because what's happening is we're getting all these Dakota digital gauges and we're getting this,
Uh-huh.
push button start. And then we got this AC system we got over here. Well, we've thrown a Coyote motor or Godzilla and we've got all
Uh-huh.
this stuff here. And then somebody goes out there with some wire and say, how do I make it all work?
Yeah.
Oh, why not we do some electric windows and a key fob where it locks and unlocks. And so all of a sudden you gather all this stuff together and it's like, how do you make this work? And so I had
Hmm.
I had felt real frustrated by it. And so we actually hired an electrical engineer
Oh, wow.
that has been working for us and does. And so we hired an electrical engineer and I said, hey, what I'd like to do is I would like to design electrical wiring, full schematics of our builds, everything completely thought out, every wire if I'm going to put
Hmm.
like maybe lights under my hood or my wheel wells, or I want cutouts and all this stuff, I want all of it pre-thought out, just everything determined, a wiring harness that I have bulkheads at the firewall, and then I have a wiring harness for the front engine. I got a wiring
Hmm.
harness for the back, and that goes to my fuel pump. I want all of this stuff figured out, all the right gauge wire, all the grounds, every wire labeled. I want everything just like plug and play. I said, I need this. And so we have been for the last 8 months going through this process of engineering wiring harnesses. Now, and we have got 3 or 4 generations architected out. We're testing them in our shop. We are launching the first wiring harness kit that you can purchase that will allow you to wire your vehicle up. It's got all the panels and the modules and everything, and it's a completely thought out wiring harness that allows just about anybody to wire their own truck up. So
Just a streamline, you've done it all, or you're figuring it all out. When you said generations, do you mean like like version 1, version 2, version 3, or do you mean like
53,
bump side? I
56, bump
gotcha.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Very cool.
yeah, so we'll have all those. 6772 is the first one we're coming out with. And so we actually have 15 wiring harnesses built. And we have, again, we thought about it. We made like, people like, well, I need to crimp my ends. Great. You can buy all the crimpers you need to do this wiring harness. You can purchase that kit. If you'd like to purchase all the components all the end pieces that, your connectors, you can buy the connector kit, and so we've kind of broke it down, and then you can buy like all the dumb little things like your ignition switches and all this stuff. You can buy that as a kit too. And so
Just
we've
check
tried
the
to
box
really
or whatever. Yeah.
check the box, you decide, and so we've really just made it to where we can help people be successful with wiring. It comes with like a 40-page, 50-page, instruction manual, wiring diagrams. And so a guy can go and say, all right, I understand this. I'll just go step by step and I'll wire my truck up. So it really is kind of a DIY wiring harness. And this is, like I said, I felt frustrated by it. And at the end of the day, and we got great guys here. And so, but the problem is this, there's no set manual to follow, set manual. So what happens is, Craig, is I got one guy who sees wiring differently than another guy. And he does something just slightly different, just a little different.
Those two just don't, match up perfectly or whatever.
Because one guy's got his own opinion and and they're both right and they're both wrong, kind of a deal. And so what happens is the consistency of wiring isn't consistent enough.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we are removing that in our shop so that it's only one way. They've got wiring diagrams. We can follow it. We can send it with with our customers. If they had to go to a shop, there's an electrical diagram that helps everybody figure out all the wires are labeled. Everybody knows what it is. And so it makes it to where, hopefully, it solves electrical issues and makes it better. So that's we talk about techie stuff. This is one thing that we have battled off and on for some time, and we've decided we're done. We're going to just make it work. So standardize.
Well, so I feel like I know the answers to some of this, but because I went to your shop, I saw your the rear end kits that you have and the front end kits and stuff like that. Do you prefer a 4-link setup, or do you really like IRS? Which is the one that you run most on, what you guys offer, or the one that you like the best?
Well, okay, so that's a pretty loaded question. If I'm just choosing like, hey, ride, comfort, performance, an IRS is definitely a better way to go, right? It's just hands down. You just got too much unsprung weight with just a solid axle that but there's some like traditionalness with it, with a solid rear axle, and still a truck, and so 4-link in it does work really well, and I'm not opposed to that. But we actually have IRS stuff that we're going to start pushing out there. You probably don't know this, Craig. Most people don't know is we have been using Porterbuilt to build all of our chassis and stuff for
Uh-huh.
us, but we own all the intellectual property. So we've just been licensing them and trying to help him with his company and whatnot. And but we kind of decided as he's gotten behind on stuff that we've had to kind of step in and take that over. So we are actually in the next couple 2 to 3 weeks, we'll be taking over all that manufacturing in our shop ourselves.
Oh,
So
cool.
so we can own the outcome where I can't own the outcome with time, lead times. If something's wrong, fix it quickly because I get caught in the middle there. And so that's why we do upholstery. That's why we do body work. That's why we do, everything else here is because, we want to control that outcome. And so this was the last piece of the puzzle where we felt like we were kind of getting our butt kicked a little bit because we've been getting it kicked pretty hard. I'm not gonna lie.
That's
And
a
so,
that's a good problem to have, is that you have so much, that going on, that the threat of possibly falling behind or having to streamline the speed of something, or customer service or whatever. That's good, that it
well,
sucks,
it is,
but
yeah, it is
you
and it
know,
isn't. Like I always put myself in the customer's position and say,
mhm,
would this upset me?
right.
If somebody did this to me, would this upset me? And if
Mhm.
it's a yes, then we're having meetings and discussing it so that we can get better on top of it because I don't, so we've had to hire a supply chain manager, a big warehouse manager. We're spending a bunch of money on software so we can get better visibility on stuff because as we've grown, we've outgrown systems and processes and automation and all this kind of stuff that we're having to make changes with. And so now we got to get, just really, really granularly into the details of how we
Really.
service the customer better so that they're writing positive reviews instead of like, it's great product, but took 5 times longer than it's supposed to be. So, we want to overcome that hurdle. And so
Yeah.
that people are having good experiences. And so, and it's my job to make sure that we're doing it, not,
Yeah.
not anyone else's. I have to own it and it's been a little challenging. I've had a lot on my plate, and so a lot coming at me.
I'll tell you what, man, I was impressed with your guys' customer service when you told me about it. What was that, last year, 2 years ago,
Mhm.
when I came out to visit it, and all the stuff that you guys go through to do that. And I think it follows through into, one, you can't make everyone happy all the time, but so many people I talk to know your company, and they all have something good to say, whether they've been a part of it or stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I mean, you obviously, your pursuit is, close to perfection. It seems to be something that you do, which is to be, admired for sure. Now, something that also you're kind of, I don't know if I want to say you're known for, but it seems like it's in all of your builds. You are a big fan of the Coyote. Would
Yeah,
you say that's fair?
I'd say that's very fair.
Yeah, yeah. So I got to know what you think about the Godzilla then.
Yeah, we were really early adopters of the Coyote, and I think it's a great motor,
Really?
and I think it belongs in everything. Now, there's an argument for the Godzilla, and the argument for the
Right.
Godzilla is it is a truck motor, but
Right.
it is a big truck motor. Okay,
Hmm.
so Ford has determined it only belongs in F-250s on up, where people
Hmm.
don't want the diesel, they don't want the expense of the diesel, but
Right.
they got to pull something occasionally, a little heavier, but not all the time. And so they got this real 7.3 gas motor,
Hmm.
which does not get good fuel economy, and but it's a little torquey, right? But when we're doing all these like F100s or even some
Yeah.
four wheel drive trucks, these guys are just cruising on the highway. Like they very rarely, let's be honest, are they actually towing?
Hmm.
Very rarely. I'm going to just say like the one percenters might say they're going to tow, but really they're not. And so what happens is people are just like Godzilla, 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 Megazilla, 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 and
Hmm. Yeah.
Megazilla 2.0, throw a Whipple on it, and it just goes and goes
Yeah,
and
yeah,
goes, right?
yeah.
And they're a great motor. I'm not saying they're not, but you know, I just feel like Fox body Mustangs and F100s and, just a lot of these two-wheel drive vehicles, it makes zero sense to put a Godzilla in it.
Really?
That's just my opinion. Now, I
Yeah.
think a four-wheel drive pickup truck, I think you can put a Godzilla in it.
Yeah.
I don't know that you have to. We've
Mhm.
done plenty with a Whipple and a Coyote motor, and they pull strong and they're fun to
Yeah.
drive and they get up and go, and you still get,
Yeah.
18 to 20 miles per gallon, where the Godzilla is going to get you down into like 6 to 8 miles per gallon. So,
I think that's kind of it. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. We have several Godzilla engine packages we've sold. We've got I actually have a personal vehicle that's being wrapped up with the Godzilla customer. Yeah, we've got a couple
Oh, yeah.
Godzillas going in, and as I say that, it's actually in a two-wheel drive 3/4 ton long bed. But I wanted to
Yeah.
understand some things, with some other manufacturers' components, and
Mhm.
so
Yeah.
we're just kind of playing around with it, and we'll see. I've got an old 1971 F-250 camper special with a service body on it.
I was going to ask you about
Um,
that. Yeah.
if you know Casey's paint shop,
Mhm.
um, he wanted this truck so badly, and he slept in that morning when the text came through to about five of us, and so he didn't answer quick enough. I was the first one to the punch, and it happened to be in close to Arizona. I was on the California, and I
Yeah.
said, "Hey, how much is it? And you're ready to get rid of it?" And because the guy who bought it and it broke down, I said, "All right, I'll come get it. I'll be there tomorrow morning. I'll take it."
That's
Anyways, and Casey missed it, and he was always frustrated. But it's a beautiful truck. It was on the Burbank Studios, has a camper shell on it. The insides are just super clean, and so
yeah.
I'm actually going to send it out to Texas, and he's trying to get his dad's truck done for SEMA, and he wants to
Mhm.
drive his dad's truck from Texas to SEMA.
Yeah.
And he says, "Dude, why don't you come out here and ride with me? And let's do this together. Let's like have fun together." So I'm going to actually ship my truck out there, fly out there, and then together we'll road trip. And I said, "Well, mine has the service body bed, so I'll bring all the tools in case you break down." So we'll have some fun on that trip, road tripping together. And
That's
of course,
awesome.
I'll probably bring somebody with me, like a mechanic for my shop, just in case I break down or something
Well,
stupid.
yeah. Well, hand them a camera. I want to see that little trip, dude. Some parts of it
It'll
posted.
be,
That'd be
yeah,
cool.
we're gonna record it and have a good time. So
Yeah, I actually like that truck, the service bed truck. You obviously put a Coyote in it, right?
Godzilla.
Oh, Godzilla? So
Yeah,
what's funny is I talked to KC a couple years ago now, and I asked him, he was showing me his trucks at his shop at his house, and he actually I asked him, he had one truck, the white one, that he
yeah,
actually came from, Texas to Tennessee with, and he had a Godzilla in it. And I said,
yeah.
"What do you think about it?" He was kind of like you, like good motor, just I think
Hmm.
the refinement of the Coyote and the ability that
Right.
you can go
Hmm.
torquey, or you can get torque and performance and still
Yeah,
have the fuel economy and so on and so forth, even though KC's broken like three cranks. But anyway,
yeah,
but like, you know what I mean? And he was like, oh, kind of thing. So,
yeah,
so,
yeah,
so he chose Coyote as well. So not only the truck that he missed out on now is a Coyote, and I just think
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
works out,
he's
dude.
the one he's building now. He threw a Coyote in it with a Whipple supercharger in
Hmm.
his four-wheel drive truck. So again, uh, everybody's got a different idea
Yeah, yeah.
and desire on what they do. I think the Godzillas are fine. And I'm glad that Ford has two options now, because
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
a Coyote or Godzilla, that just helps our industry, to
Hmm.
just have more options of things that people love. The you know the LS platform, um, they don't really have. I mean, they've got some
Versions. Yeah, they got
versions.
versions.
Now they're in the LT, the LT1, the LT4, and then they've got
Yeah,
that big 632, and
yeah,
but it's kind of just that same thing where with Ford you kind of feel like, hey, I got this big 7.3 pushrod motor,
yeah.
and I can get 1,000 horsepower, and it's real
Hmm.
torquey, and I got the Coyote motor. So I really feel like Ford has stepped up and offered solutions.
Hmm.
Ford
I
is a
agree.
truck. They're a truck company. They're a Mustang company. That's what they are first. And everything else is just, to keep the EPA happy. So,
Yeah, yeah. And I mean that's just it too, is like with a Coyote, and it's more refinement like we said, and the Godzilla is just a raw push motor engine. So if that's what you still want, but you don't want a 302 or a 351 or whatever, then
mhm.
and you want to be a little different, then go Godzilla. But back on your utility truck, is that going to be at your I'm going to call it, like, what do you call that little party you have at your
Yeah,
company?
block party.
Block
Just
party? Okay.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
it going to be there, or is it going to
yeah,
be?
yeah.
Yeah,
It'll be there.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's pretty much done.
it's done-ish. I think they fired it up. I've
Yeah.
gone in. I said, hey, I want lights here, and
Hmm.
this is the stereo system I want in it. And so there's a few little things they're adding, but also keep in mind it's my truck. So if they
Yeah.
ever have to like stop on mine to go do something for someone else, which
Yeah.
that they know that's the first priority is not
Hmm.
me.
Yeah.
It definitely slows up the build quite a bit, but
Yeah.
they're really close, real close.
When is the block party?
March 13th. It's a Friday.
So soon, kind of, huh?
Yep, yep.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't know when this podcast is going to go up, but is it normally in March every year, or?
It's March every year. Usually that second weekend in
Yeah.
March, the same weekend as Good Guys.
You're right. Good guys.
Yeah.
Same weekend as good guys. Yeah. By the way, thanks again for that. When I came out, I never thought I'd make it out to a good guys, and you made that happen, and I appreciate that. It was a blast, man.
Yeah, the struggle we're having is um the Southwest F100 Nationals that Robert does.
Uh-huh.
He changed his weekend to do that to this weekend, and I was like, Robert, I was like, he goes, well, it's the only time I could get the marina, and I was like,
Now,
so
what do you do? Yeah.
yeah, so we may not, we who also sponsor that show, so we're going to try to send out a bunch of stuff,
Hmm.
freebies and stuff, but I don't think we're going to make it because we got our event on Friday
Hmm.
and whatnot, and his is Friday, Saturday, but it's a little bit stressful for me because I want to be supportive of Robert in that show, but it's like, you
Hmm.
know, is what it is. They'll
Well,
they'll they'll keep it going.
yeah, you're real supportive of, companies and shows and things like that around, I'm sure in the Chevy stuff too, and for me it's the F100s, but in the F100 community, the Ford truck community, what all do you have sponsors, or what all do that show you mentioned, Grand Nats, a couple
Yeah,
others, I think.
Grandnets, the Western National show,
Hmm.
in Anaheim. We do the Dino's Get Down. We
Hmm.
sponsor there. We have, a couple other little smaller little events that we try to help with,
Yeah.
and but mostly push really hard on the Ford community side. That's kind of where I feel most comfortable, and
Hmm.
I feel like it's what we do the very best of, and so we kind of stay there. Like we just recently became a Ford racing parts dealer, so
Oh yeah.
that just happened, and so we're gonna announce that here shortly, and so you can buy all your engines and drivetrains and control packs, and which we sell that, but
We just want to say thank you to today's sponsor, 3D Classic Car Parts. They make 3D printed truck parts for your classic truck. Check out 3dclassiccarparts.com.
we never really made much money on that stuff because
Yeah.
we had to buy from a third party,
Right.
and again the third party was fine if they were always honest with everything, but they weren't, and they said they had stuff when they didn't, and then again, so but now we can bring in inventory and keep stuff on the shelf, and hopefully be real quick at taking care of people.
That's cool, man. I didn't know that. Another place to get performance parts. That's actually probably gonna help you guys out too, and get stuff, out of the door faster and
Yep.
figuring out things faster and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. So Grand Nationals, you've been a part of that for a few years now. That's a pretty epic show. I mean, that's a great example of
Hmm.
like every reason why anybody does anything, you, me, anybody does anything with the, classic trucks. It's
Hmm.
just like you said earlier, family, friends,
Hmm.
community, talking trucks, figuring stuff out, sharing ideas, learning things, getting educated, finding new sources like, where to
Yeah.
buy performance Ford parts, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
What What's your favorite part of Grand Nationals?
Well, you know what? I'd heard of the shows and I'd never been. I remember sitting in my office one day and I get this phone call from a guy named Joe Carpenter.
Ah,
And so, I mean, if you've been to that show, everybody knows Joe, right?
oh
So
yeah,
the Joes. And
Big Joe, Little
so
Joe.
yeah, so he asked if I'd come out and he had a real good sales pitch, he just
Mm-hmm.
really, and I thought to myself, "Oh, it's a long ways to go. My gosh." So we went. We just took like a tiny little 24-foot trailer with some junk out there and had a good time and just met so many awesome people. Like just it was so cool. And I said, you know what, we're gonna come back. We haven't missed a year. I think we missed the first year they did it,
Yeah,
maybe the second year, but since we started going, we haven't missed that show and we love it. It's getting better and better. And you know, I mean, listen, putting on a show is going to be really hard for people, and one that's getting pretty
yeah,
large like that one is, and
yeah.
making everybody happy is really difficult. And
Mm-hmm.
you try to plan for the unexpected, but you're still surprised every year by the unexpected, and some people get upset. But listen, we don't go to shows to win awards. We don't go to shows to you know flex and say we're better than anyone. We go to shows
Yeah,
because we want to have a good time. We want to share what we do. And I hope that everybody else has that same feeling. If you win something, it's cool, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if
It's
our
like a
customer,
bonus.
but that cannot be the reason why
No.
you went to the show, because you might be disappointed because it's left to the um, perspective of the person that was doing the voting, and that's all subjective to someone's
Yeah,
opinion, and
yeah,
it's never going to be um, precise, and so it's just kind of one of those things. But they give out a lot of awards there. I do know that. It's like the Pinewood Derby, man. They give
oh
best
yeah,
looking car, nicest wheels. I mean, it's
yeah,
like, I
yeah.
mean, they give out so many awards there. It's somebody, you're bound to get a little something.
There's a chance. Yeah,
There's a chance, yeah, and it's fun, and so, but this year we want to really help push the show, and we haven't told anybody about it, but we've got some stuff that's coming out. But
yeah.
after our block party, we'll start pushing it. But we're going to give away a chassis at
Okay.
the show. At the show, um, we're not actually bringing it to the show
Yeah,
to
I was
give it
gonna ask
away.
that. Yeah,
And the reason why is I can't predict, and I want it to be useful for someone. Okay,
yeah.
so it'll be a two-wheel drive chassis,
Hmm.
and then if you win, you tell us what your make and model of truck you have. Right? It
Okay.
sucks to win something, then you don't own that truck. If
Hmm.
that's what we
Yeah,
brought. Oh, because you can say, well, I brought out a 53, 56 chassis. That's
yeah.
well, as I know, there's going to be a lot of bump sides and dent sides,
Uh-huh.
and those guys are out of the running. So if they do
Uh,
win it, they're thinking, well, maybe I'll sell it,
yeah.
right? And we didn't want that. So we thought the best thing would be to, one, promote the show. Um, if you register, you come to the show, you register, and you're there, you're entered. You're gonna be entered in this thing. So, and
That's
then if you
cool.
buy merch and different things, you'll get entered in. So, but we'll basically it'll be whatever truck you have, the two-wheel drive truck you have, we'll make
Hmm.
the chassis for your truck.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah,
That's pretty epic.
yeah, it'll
You
be
know, because
fun.
like, for sure, like I was thinking, and tell me if there's any cutoffs on here. Like, what if somebody won that's like has like a 49 or something like that? It's nice that they could call you
Perfect.
and you guys can move the,
Got it. We got
whatever
it.
and build it.
We have it. We go
That's
all the
that's
way
pretty
down
epic.
to, I think we go all the way down to like 37 or 42, somewhere in there.
Wow.
So, but and all the way up to 79.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What is it that you think is, why F100s are so big and still are and even becoming more and more popular?
Well, I'll tell you, you're not going to like this answer. Um, we can say thanks to the C10 guys.
Yeah, yeah.
The C10 guys just got a little bit crazy with all their C10s, and that kind of helped propel the
Hmm.
love of trucks, which I mean we all loved the old trucks, let's be honest. But you have guys like the C10 crowd that were really pushing trucks. you had like the Chip Foose, his 56 Ford they
Mm-hmm.
did on overhauling, and you had some just things that, you know, and these finally people are just like, well, I got an old Ford truck,
Yeah.
and then people are like, I can't afford a C10 because they got too expensive. I'll go buy a Ford truck because that hasn't taken off yet. And so
Uh,
there's, so the guys that love their trucks got that have Ford trucks. The shows and the companies that are coming out with products created a platform for these guys and a show for these guys to come out and
yeah.
enjoy showing them off. And so it's becoming just larger and larger. And I'd like to think maybe we had a teeny tiny piece in helping push this stuff.
I believe it.
But at the end of the day, it's just been people showing up, people just
Yeah.
coming out to shows and building their truck and the demographics of the Chevy versus Ford are different.
Mm-hmm. I
Um,
agree.
it's different. There's a lot of like, middle America farmers, heartland,
Yeah.
oil rig guys, just like you've got all these just, real blue collar, hardworking people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it seems like a lot of them had four trucks, and so as that has become popular, you're just seeing all these like really cool trucks come out of the woodworks, and it's like, oh, that's super cool.
Yeah, I love that. Like, who knew the utility beds, like trucks would explode, or you would, but
Hmm.
they are. Like, yours is something about a utility bed truck, for example, is just epic, and trends happen and things like that. And actually, yeah, well, that's probably a good next question. What do you think is next for the F100s?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we kind of keep analyzing this a little bit. One thing I think, like for us, we're always like looking at like colors, like what's changing. We have a
Hmm.
Bronco we're building for SEMA this year, and we're going to kind of go out on a little bit of a small limb on color and interior.
Mm.
That's something different that we've never done.
So
Um,
style, you think style is going to be one of the big
yeah, I
next
think
kind of
I think
changes?
yeah, I think it's changing a little bit. I
Unique.
think colors are changing now. Of course, it's for SEMA, so we're looking at like style of things that um, aren't being done. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like how do we stay in front of trends, right? How do you stay in front of it instead of just following trends, right? If you're following
Hmm.
trends, it's already too late. And so, for us, we're trying to stay ahead of that. So we've got some cool ideas, but as far as trucks go, the bump sides and the dent sides are real popular right now. The OBS Fords are becoming popular. We actually have a really cool independent front suspension kit that's coming out for those. And rear forelink, which we've had the rear forelink for a couple of years, but we've designed a bolt-in independent front suspension that gets rid of the twin I-beams on OBS. And so that should be on the ground, verified here within the next couple of weeks. If it is good, then we'll launch that here probably in about 30 to 60 days. And so it should go back a few years, like into the mid to late 80s as well. But
Okay.
we just need to go test that. But those are becoming popular. It's the brick nose, the bull nose. I think that's going to be a little bit slower
Yeah.
transition.
Hmm.
They will come around eventually, but I
Yeah.
think those are probably still about 5 years out. So if you're listening to this right now, go buy your brick nose and bull nose now,
Yeah.
because in
Yeah.
about 5 years they're going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
Um, but I think they're going to get up into, the 97, 98s. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a really cool
The
year.
jelly beans. Yeah.
The Jelly Bean, that Ford Lightning,
Hmm.
that stuff. I think they're still pretty cool. Um, we do have interior kits coming out for the OBS.
Yeah.
Um, one thing we're currently in the process of redesigning a door panel
Mm.
because most of those door panels like cracked and trashed and
Yeah.
they're garbage. And then you go buy an aftermarket one, and it's not even remotely close to being
Yeah.
similar. And it just feels like, okay, it's not cracked, right? Fair enough. But it's really not great either.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of just designing and making our own door panel for those so that it feels newer, a little bit
Yeah.
nicer than the original ones, a little cleaner and feels a little more custom just a little bit. But we're hoping to launch that all of our OBS interior stuff here in the next couple months. So
Are you going to offer the real deep maroon that seems to show up in all the OBS color
of course,
interiors?
all the colors, absolutely, absolutely.
I had a 91 that was like that, and I think OBS ended in 97, right?
Yeah, that
And then 98
96.
to 2004 or something was the Jelly Bean, but
Hmm. I think it
man,
had. I think the four-wheel drive hung on a little bit longer,
yeah,
than some of the others, the
yeah.
F-150, but yeah.
hmm It's funny how that the progression of the F100 popularity. Like as a kid, my dad, still has a slick side, and that's the one I went to shows with, right? But when
Hmm.
I was there, it was always the 50 models.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the 53 to 56 type stuff. And I was always like, it was like I saw this meme one time, and that was funny. It was like some like 1800 wealthy people on a balcony, like looking down upon the
Hmm.
peasants, and it
Hmm.
said, yeah, and it said 19, 53 to 56 or whatever. And I was like, that's
Yeah.
so true because they all won at car
Yeah.
shows and stuff like
Yeah.
that. You didn't really want a trophy, but you kind of hope you got it or whatever because dad's, had his truck redone or whatever. And then it went from that to OBS. It just
Yeah.
jumped all the way over to OBS, and all of a sudden OBSs were blowing up,
Yeah.
and then I feel like bump side came next.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And the funny thing is the 5356 is still popular. It's still one of our
Mhm.
most common chassis that people are
Is
purchasing.
it?
But um, because it's the quintessential hot rod pickup truck, right? It's
Oh yeah.
it's the it's in my opinion, it's more so than the Chevy trucks in
hmm
general. It is the 56 Ford, big back windows, the quintessential hot rod
Oh yeah.
truck. So I think it's gonna stay and linger a little longer. But there'll come a point where, those are, not as many are being redone. But I think we're still probably about 10 years away before we see that.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah.
How close do you think the, bull and brick nose is? 5 years?
I think 5 years, yeah.
Yeah.
You're gonna start seeing those move in the next 5 years, yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
so
they're
too, because
they're kind of
yeah.
they're kind of moving a little now, but we've got I've actually got one each of those trucks for us to start working on parts. So,
Oh,
but
cool.
yeah,
How much of a difference is there in between like a brick nose and bull nose in regards to maybe chassis or something?
yeah, they're very subtle. They made subtle changes
Yeah.
from pretty much from 79, 80
hmm
to that 87. It was kind of they're real subtle changes. There's some definite crossover there. So
hmm
they'll be pretty easy to kind of, um, get caught up pretty easily. But yeah, they're coming. They're just, they're little weirder trucks. And so, yeah.
And I kind of wonder if that's going to be beneficial, and I think it might be because I feel like, we always want to get the next generation interested in the
Hmm.
classics of any kind. And in reference to the brick and bullnose, they're, throttle bodied slash, early fuel injection. And most of them have power steering and most of them have disc brakes and so on and so
Hmm.
forth. So I feel like it's an easier, safer start for the
Hmm.
next generation to get
Hmm.
into. It's a little wiring, like we mentioned, so that's,
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah.
be fun, but it's an easier transition. Like you didn't,
Yeah.
the EFI is probably still working. Throttle bodies are out there, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You already have the plenum for it, things like that.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I kind of hope that's sort of going to be something that makes it kind of go,
Yeah.
maybe up next to quicker. You don't
It,
have to go engine
you
swap. You don't
don't.
have to,
You
I like
don't.
that.
I mean, they don't have any horsepower. Let's be honest. But you got 250 horsepower tops, and so.
hmm
But at the end of the day, that may not matter as much for a while. You'll have people that are in their 40s today. They'll be in their 50s in about 10 years, and
hmm
they'll have the money to take a brick nose or bull nose and put whatever the latest and greatest engine
I would
needs to
love to
go.
get one of those. Yeah. That'd be epic to
So,
drive one of those and haul
mhm.
my 68 or something like that, you know.
That'd be cool.
I saw one that was I know poor guys hate it, but step side basically, and it looked good. It had that, 80s, it was gray
Yeah,
and it had that 80s
yeah,
stickers on the side, the
yeah,
lines and stuff that's
yeah,
going really
yeah,
big in the
yeah,
yeah, in the dent sides, and I was like, maybe I'd
yeah.
drive that daily.
Well, I actually prefer like that 2000 Jelly Bean
Do you?
that
That's yours? Oh
step
yeah,
side.
yeah. Those
Those
were
were
like the
cool.
rarer ones, weren't they?
Yeah,
I
those were
never saw too
cool.
many of them, yeah.
Yeah, those were really, really cool. And so that's kind of on my radar is just to find one of those that's pretty original, kind of stock, has a good paint
Yeah.
job, and then do something fun with it. But that's for me, that's probably 3 to 5 years down the road. We're gonna mess with those.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it's a good platform in general. Like that's what's under Redheaded Stepchild, my red truck.
Mm-hmm.
It's a chassis, 2002,
Yeah.
F-150 chassis. He
Yeah.
Farm Truck Racing Texas took the 4.6 that was all tired and everything and put one out of a Crown Vic in it. And like kind of like everything else,
Yeah.
like on the Bull and Brick Nose, it doesn't have any horsepower, but it
Yeah. Yeah.
goes. It just
Yeah.
has no problem doing anything. I love that.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, and that was kind of where you started to get those eras. You started to get like Harley Davidson, getting involved and
Packages, yeah.
packages, all these different little unique things that were coming out. And that's when the Lightning really started to kind of get a little bit faster in those trucks. And so there's a definitely, that will come. Now, past that, I don't know. I'm having a hard time seeing past that, but definitely I definitely think those would get included.
I never thought, when I was a kid that Fox bodies would be considered a classic. And I'm not even that, I'm
Yeah.
41, so it's
Yeah.
but they're like people are like looking at 80s and 90s vehicles and going like, "Oh, it's a classic." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm a
Yeah.
classic,"
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, hey, when it comes to like coming, what's next and trending and everything like that, what's a good way to ask that question in regards to Fat Fender? Like
Yeah.
you
Well,
you start something and you guys do a really good job of implementing it and then moving on to the next thing. So what's next?
for us right now is we have a lot going on, and so we've kind of gotten a little bit slow because of all the pieces that are moving, and so we've actually had to hire 2 or 3 people to help us speed up um, all the parts. Like we'll probably have because it's taken them about 30 to 60 days to kind of overhaul our system of how we're going to
Hmm.
release products. But we should be having within the next couple weeks where 2 to 3 products a week are getting launched out of our company, new products. And so that's coming on board. So the speed at which we're going to be releasing things is going to be sped up. And so, but but what that means is we're going to be really heavily focused into Ford chassis, Gen 1 Mustangs, Fox body Mustangs.
Wow.
Like these are where we're headed, and providing the support and products and all the things that you go along with those interior kits. We'll
Hmm.
be introducing a bunch of Godzilla components that we've been working on and developing for those people that like Godzilla. And so for us, we're just moving, into a lot more parts coming, and between interiors, new chassis designs, new products, new generations, but leaned heavier into the Ford side than we have been in the past.
That's cool. So moving forward, it seems to be your guys' motto. You guys are always moving on to the next thing and I innovative, I think is another good thing that I think would come up about your company. You guys are always
Hmm.
good at getting that stuff going. Now, parts was something years ago I was surprised or that you guys offer and stuff. What is some of your best selling or most popular, parts that you guys
Well, we sell a lot of like brake kits and little miscellaneous components,
yeah?
fuel tanks and radiators for people that are looking for like a a high quality bolt-in. We don't sell any of the Champion radiators or things off eBay or you know, there's a place for that, and for the most part they work, but we're always just looking for this like a little cleaner, little more, you know, better product. So if something does go wrong, we have a good company that, you know, is making our radiators to support us, not trying to get like, well, okay, it went bad, I guess we eat it because, you know,
Yeah.
they're not going to help us out, you know. So
Mhm.
and that's what it comes down to, is just us being able to, you know, take care of the customer way. But um uh you know, we really, now I forgot what you said, Craig, because I forgot what I said.
What is the most popular and best selling
Oh yes,
parts
yeah.
that you guys have? Yeah.
So a lot of those things we just talked about. One of the things that there's a myth that comes up, and I want to dispel this because this comes up often. If you're doing a coyote swap, you're reading the instructions from the Ford Racing Control Pack, and it says, do not do a returnless fuel system. Okay. And it'll say that in the instructions. And so oftentimes we're selling people, you know, these tanks and stuff, and it's returnless. Like, well, you know, says you shouldn't be doing this, and Power by the Hour says you shouldn't be doing this, and
Yeah.
blah, 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 right?
We just want to say thank you to today's sponsor, 3D Classic Car Parts. They make 3D printed truck parts for your classic truck. Check out 3dclassiccarparts.com.
And so what happens is okay, they are, that is correct. Okay. So I just want to dispel the myth of fuel systems. First, every new Mustang is doing a pulse width modulated returnless system. Okay. So that is how it's completely designed, and the
Really?
engine is happy to run that way. But what happens is that's a separate control module that the ECU cannot control outside of the Mustang, right?
Hmm.
And so as Ford is selling these control packs, they don't have that ability to control the pulse width modulated system. Where in GM, if you go buy a brand new GM, it's all pulse width modulated. Okay, so it's always that way. Well, and their system that they sell is pulse width modulated, but Ford hasn't
Yeah.
gone that way. They just don't sell it that way. So they say run a returnless, run it to, you know, this through the fuel filter, through the regulator, and then send it back to the tank, and then, you know, all this stuff and extra fittings and stuff, and as long as your regulator's working, you know, you'll be good. Well, what happens is generally that is an air motive fuel pump, which,
Okay.
okay, it runs, an air motive is a great company. I don't want to say anything negative about it. But the problem with that is that fuel pump is running in we'll call it a sprinting at 100% duty cycle. Okay. So it's like hitting the rev limiter on your Coyote and just driving with the rev limiter always wherever you go.
Pegged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pegged, right? So that's what the fuel pump's doing, right? It's good. And it's great as it's submerged in the gas to keep it nice and cool. What happens is people forget, they're running out of gas, they're a little low, they're always driving it at a quarter tank. I'm sure, Craig, you've never driven anything at a quarter tank gas ever. And what happens is when you're in a sprint mode, if you're running, like just physically running in a sprint, and you don't drink any water, you're
Yeah.
going to tap out quickly, right? You got to have those electrolytes. You got to get cooled back down. You need that stuff. So, but the pulse width modulated system, what it does is it sends voltage to the fuel pump for how much fuel it needs. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, your fuel pump is in a jog. It's at like 60%, 70% duty cycle. So it's no longer pegged out. So as you get, you know, and we're using a factory OEM Mustang GT or GT 500 fuel pump. So as you get that in there, and it's designed, that fuel pump's designed to be in that type of an environment, you are less likely to burn up your fuel pump on the OEM side with the pulse width modulated than you are an aftermarket pump, 100% duty cycle, and all of a sudden that goes out. So both will do the job. The pulse width modulated does it better. It's smarter. It's got a brain that predicts it, so it will increase voltage if it sense it needs more fuel, which no one's down there changing the regulator if something needs to be done. So this is a very smart way of doing it. and you're less likely to find yourself with a burnt up fuel aftermarket fuel pump, nonetheless, that you're not going to get at O'Reilly's or Checker
Mm-hmm.
Auto, or you know what I'm saying? You're not going
Mm-hmm.
to get it at these places. And so where you can go get a factory OEM fuel pump, like out of a Mustang or something, you can get that and replace it if that was, which frankly, we've never burned one up, never had an issue. And with the aftermarket ones, that's been more common. So we do what we do because we're following really what Ford has designed and has tested with millions of dollars with their fuel pumps and that system. So we're just following that.
Huh.
We're not saying a return style doesn't work. We're just saying
Yeah.
there's more risk of burning up a fuel pump and finding yourself stranded. So we push, sometimes technology and reliability and use products that have been tested and proved by Ford. And so that's kind
Mm-hmm.
of why we do what we do. But we'll get people say, well, I was talking to this other company and they said they don't understand why you guys are selling a returnless pulse width modulated system. It's wrong. And I'm like, well, that's just not, you know, it's not wrong. It's just, they're not understanding, it clearly. And so hopefully that'll be a good segment for you to even use it all on its own.
Yeah, that
Talking
sounds.
about fuel systems, right? Returnless versus return style, and they both can work. We just feel that one works as more of a premium option. Costs you an extra couple $100, but
Right.
that's
Did
about
you
it.
did you learn that out of trial and error or from customer, stuff, or was this something that you had already known? I mean, where'd you figure out and obtain all this information to really figure that out? I mean, you mentioned aftermarket, but
Yeah,
was that
well,
just something you
it,
did
it was just
research on, or?
yeah. I was just sitting here thinking, I'm like, man, the aftermarket pumps, like, my guys would be like, they'll go put like 3 to 4 gallons inside the gas tank, and which is like low. And they'll fire it up and then they'll forget to add more gas. And then, here we are, we're finally getting it on the road. We'll go do a little bit of test mileage with that now 3 gallons of gas. And all of a sudden the fuel pump's gone. It's toasted. I'm
Hmm.
like, what the crap? And then we start realizing, okay, guys, hey, there's not enough fuel in here. And then I was like, why is this happening? Like, this is
Hmm.
dumb. So having reached out to, I'm a big fan of like reaching out to resources and other people and questioning. And
Yeah.
for us, we were just like, hey, I want to solve this for us. And I could solve it by saying, put more gas in it, put 10 gallons of gas, right? That solves it. But that doesn't actually solve it for everybody else, because I'm going to guess if we're doing this, someone else is doing this. And so
Hmm.
how do we make something more reliable? And so let's do some studying on what is actually happening with the Mustang. We knew what GM was already doing, from our, different products that we've been using there. And so it just kind of made sense for us to learn how to use, and design things to be more reliable. So it's just research and trying to figure this out. And so again, they both work. And there
Hmm.
isn't like right or wrong here. There's just two different ways and two different options. I find it way easier to take one line straight all the way to the fuel rail, end of story, without all the extra fittings and regulators and all this stuff, and then
Hmm.
going back to the tank and, getting underneath there and making sure it's all,
Yeah,
it's just a
I
little
prefer
clunky.
that. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
the simplicity. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's easier just to take it all the way, drop it off, and we're done. And then we just have a sensor that monitors it, and then that sensor monitors the fuel pressure, and if it to maintain 58 psi, and if something's going wrong, or maybe the fuel filter hasn't been changed in a while and it needs more fuel pressure, then or the pump's feeling a little bit tired, or I don't know, or
Hmm.
the system needs more fuel, like it's going to push and increase the volts for you, so that you're getting more, fuel pressure to the fuel rail. So it's pretty handy. We like it, and if you install it correctly, pretty reliable.
Are these independent? Or are they, you know, only going with newer model engines?
So it's
Are they standalone or whatever?
yeah, they're standalone, so you can actually
Okay.
use it in almost anything fuel injected.
Okay. Well, there you go. That
Yeah.
works out for those, brick nose, bull nose stuff we're talking about or whatever.
Yeah, well, it even have a guy that puts like a Holly sniper or something on
Yeah.
it. It'll
Yeah.
still work there as long as it's fuel injection and you know, you can, you know, you can make that work.
Oh, I just learned something new today. That's cool. Man, if we talked about some of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and some of the, great stuff about trucks and lessons learned and things like that. You talk to a lot of customers who bring in trucks that they've purchased or trucks in the family or, a lot of history, a lot of whatever. What would say if someone asks you like what do you think is like the most meaningful part of the truck, F100, reasoning or community behind why people are doing all these things to their trucks? What do you think it'd be?
Well, I think it's ancestors, okay?
Yeah.
I think it's grandpa, I think it's your dad, I think it's, you know, relationships you had in high school. I think
Hmm.
there's a core memory here somewhere, and it's usually tied to your ancestors. And so, you know, I and it's a way of linking yourself to them.
Yeah.
And there's just something that I find that just really resonates with people and they emotionally connect with it. So you mentioned that, you know, your family, your grandpa, dad had a slick side, right? Well,
Hmm.
we all know what your truck is, right? So, you
Hmm.
know, you've got this slick side truck, but you didn't get a 5356, right?
Yeah.
But you got something that's meaningful to you. And
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's a
Hmm.
brick nose, bull nose, or if it's a, you know,
Yeah.
a fridge truck or whatever it is. There's
Right.
something that you're connecting to someone, your ancestors, a history, or you saw a photo that somebody had a truck like that once, and then you're drawn into it. And so um, they become special at that point. And so it could be something that you bought when you were 16 and you've kept it your
Hmm.
entire life, and it means something because of the memories you had when you were 16. And
Hmm.
so, um, and then there's people that just think they're cool. Let's be
Yeah.
honest, you know, they
Yeah.
just
That's
think that
that's
that
my
just
wife. She
they
didn't grow up
just
with
think
them. She
they're
just thinks
cool.
they're cool. Yeah.
Yeah, they're cool. They're
Yeah.
classic. And, you know, all these celebrities I follow, they've got one, you know, and I think they're cool, right?
Mhm.
So, and they're in every Hallmark movie, right? There's a Ford
Yeah.
truck in every freaking Hallmark movie.
There it
And so
is.
they must be cool. And at
Yeah,
that
right.
point, and, uh, and so, you know, but and the Hallmark movies are not wrong. They're trying to really like, sell you on the story, right?
Yeah.
And the simpleness of the small town and go back onto the farm and your old boyfriend
Yeah.
still lives there and he's got his old truck from when he was 16 and when you
Yeah.
dated he's still driving it, right? And so there's just all this stuff that becomes meaningful to people. And so I think it's what keeps our community growing. um and it's what makes it special,
Yeah.
and it's really what makes it special for me is hearing all these stories.
Yeah.
Um, and these stories, we've both previewed this movie, documentary, that this guy's,
Oh.
pushing out there,
Hmm.
and on, Elmer, right?
Yeah, you're
And
talking about one of the Wyatts. Yeah.
yeah, one of the Wyatts. There's two Wyatts here, right? And it's interesting, you've got a couple Wyatts who, had a truck that meant something to him.
Hmm.
And so um and what happens is it means something to the family, at that point, and they'll never sell that truck ever. It'll
Hmm.
always be in their family, and I
Hmm.
and it'll and it means something, and it can mean something to a community because maybe they have an old truck and it's connecting them to that old truck, and it creates more memories in them. And so like there's just something that we tend to just don't want to forget those that we love
Yeah.
and our experiences with them. And sometimes it's an object that
Yeah.
keeps it fresh in our mind. And so, I'm happy to be part of the old
Yeah.
classic truck community and to make them cool, to make them fun, to be whatever people want them to
Whatever
be.
keeps them on the road. Yeah.
Keep whatever keeps them on the road and whatever brings that joy into their life.
There you go.
I know people listening right now have a story.
Yeah.
And and it would be cool to like hear those stories. Like I have a story of a Dodge pickup truck in my life where
Yeah.
my great grandfather, I would go ride with him in his Dodge swept-line long bed, red and white, and we'd go get a haircut once a month. You know, I didn't know him well, but I knew him enough. He had a gas station. He'd give me coins, and he had this little like oval thing, plastic thing you squeeze, and
My
coins could
dad has
be
one
in
of
the little
those. Yeah.
slit, and that's a memory of my grandfather. So I'm always on the hunt for this Dodge swept line red and white one,
Yeah.
the one that brings the memory, and I'll find it, and I'll be like, that's it, I'm buying it. And so I have that, and then I know where the one that I drove in high school that my grandfather had, and he let me drive it. I know where it's sitting in the small town, this guy that owns it. I'm still trying to, he started working on it, and I can still see some of the yellow, and so I'm still trying to negotiate that away from him.
Yeah.
I'm not real successful because he likes it too. And
Maybe
but
one day.
those are the memories, and everybody has something like that. If you're in your 40s or 50s, you've probably got one of those memories, so.
I think you hit the nail on the head, man. That's yeah. What do you think of the Eddie Elmore story? I think you just watched that, didn't you? The
Yeah, I just watched it today.
Eric
They
Light made.
Eric, yeah, Eric sent it to me, and he's, it's hard to tell a story, right? Like you want to document, and it's also sad, you feel kind
Yeah.
of just like crappy because like, geez, but
Yeah.
it's also a great
He did a
story.
good job.
Yeah, it's also a great story. I think he did a really good job putting it together and sharing the how, this Wyatt lived on with all the, organs he's able to,
Hmm.
give that were all in good shape and could go to so many people and keep other people's lives going,
Yeah.
And so I think I had a great message. I watched with my kids and my wife, and I think I teared up a couple times, just kind of
Yeah,
like,
me
geez,
too.
like I was like,
Back
well,
to back to that community stuff, man. It's
yeah,
just
I was like, this
who
is
knew it
it.
hit you so hard that you're like,
Yeah,
I
I
want
was
to
like
go to
this.
Grand Nationals and see all these people and talk trucks, and it's just something you look forward to, the
Mhm.
entire year.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Definitely
awesome.
blows. Well, man, it's been awesome watching you guys on Instagram and coming out and seeing what you guys do and you know, everybody has everybody has a part in the growth of the F100 community, and what you guys do there is just innovative, and it motivates people, motivates me to get out there and do it, or to call you and ask questions, or maybe someone that has
Hmm.
some of your products, and I actually love talking to people who got trucks from you guys because they are overly excited. I think it was last year, Grand Nats, forget his name, he got his black bump side back, and he was
Oh
so
yeah,
excited.
yeah,
He lost the truck, and then he got it back, and it was
yeah,
in a magazine, and he was just so enthralled. I think it was like debuted at that show. Tell us about that a
yeah,
little bit, actually. Yeah.
yeah. We had a really nice truck. And you said the story really well. He'd lost it, and then he found it, and had been in like
I
a
love that. Yeah.
hurricane, and
Oh my
just a
gosh.
little bit of damage, but we didn't repaint it. It was all the paint was decent enough shape. We did a few things to it, and then overhauled the entire truck, and he loves it. We had a really good time being able to like debut it, show it there at the Grand Nass last year, and do a photo shoot,
Hmm.
and it was kind of fun to like put the original magazine. He had the original
Yeah.
magazine, and then to have it there, take a photo of it on the new truck that's been redone, and then have that in the second magazine, kind of like looking back in time.
That's
and
cool.
and so super cool truck. And it's those stories are just meaningful to him and his family, and he's had it. And we had one little quirky thing with anytime you put too much technology in, you think it works and then it doesn't. So
Yeah.
it's just a key fob thing acting up. So I think they got that taken care of. We just said take it to a shop and we'll pay to
Yeah.
fix it. So, but anyways, but aside from that, he's had a great time with it, and
It's
hopefully
it's
he'll.
it's got to be cool to see those people excited about what they get from,
Mhm.
the on paper idea that they sent you that you turned
Yeah.
into reality, That's got to be kind of cool.
It's fun. It
It's like a
really is
bonus.
fun. It is. That's the fun part. It's hard work until you get there. It's a
Yeah.
lot of pain and agony and money and all that kind of stuff. And but once you get to the end and it's kind of all done,
Hmm.
they usually they pretty much almost 99.9% of the time when it's all done and they have it, they're like, okay, this was worth it.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
thing's awesome. This thing
Yeah.
is incredible. Like we had one customer who built a C10 for, and he didn't have it registered, and so we couldn't drive it because he didn't have registration and insurance on it. And freaking thing's beautiful. It's all done. We're just
Yeah.
airbags and everything, and he's like, hey, I'm gonna need to like send it back to me in New Mexico so I can go get it registered, and then I'll send it back to you. Okay, sounds great. Be careful about driving it because there's only like 5 miles on it, tops. We just
Yeah.
kind of like real quick did a couple little things around
Uh-huh.
here, but I'm like, we really can't get this thing on the road. I don't, there's no insurance on it. Like, we can
Yeah.
just like early mornings do like a quick little
A
loop and then
loop.
be
Yeah.
done. And just to make sure it's all good. Well, I he got it and he had mixed feelings because he's like, it was a lot of money. But he got it. He loved it so much. And we put 1,000 miles on these things before we give him out. I bet he's put 500 to 700 miles on this thing.
Really.
Yeah. And I'm like surprised he's made it that far because normally, this little through the course of it, there's
Yeah,
a
you got to
little
break it
leak.
in. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little leak here. There's but
Uh-huh.
he
Yeah.
he's been driving it all the time to work. He loves it. It's fun. And so we're supposed to get it back this next week and kind of
Check it over.
yeah, take his little list, go through it all and finish up whatever miles and get it back to him. But he loves it. He's super excited about it. He said it's like the best truck in his stable. So
That's cool. That's cool. Man, a testament to you guys' quality work then, dude. So Jason, we talked about some of the big changes, what you're doing at Grand Nationals, doing the giveaway. We talked a lot about sort of the what people like about trucks, the history of trucks, what everyone loves about trucks and everything like that. Um, Back to Grand Nationals, what other shows besides the Good Guys in Arizona are you going to?
um
That people can go and look at your guys' booth or whatever.
yeah, you bet. We'll be at Grand National Show. We'll be at the Triple Crown of Rotting. We'll
Okay.
be at Dino's Get Down. We'll be at the F100 Western Nationals. Our block party coming up in a couple weeks. It's a little limited this year
Hmm.
because we've just got a tremendous amount of stuff on our plate and we're having to kind of like scale back a little bit. We'd love to get out to the Super Nats, but it's hard for us, with SEMA, we'll be at SEMA.
Yeah.
It's hard for us
Okay.
to hit all that stuff at one time. And we've just got with the new chassis. I can look a little sneak peek.
Oh, that's chassis company. That's cool,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. So with that kind of coming online and some other stuff, and we need more space. We've already run out of space. We got about 44,000 square feet, and we're out. So there's just a lot of little things we're having to like. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And
Yeah.
and so um, we're not quite set up to go tackle a bunch of shows anymore
Gotcha.
this year. Yeah.
Well, and then you got your block party coming up next month. You said the
Yep.
13th?
March 13th. Yep.
That's a Friday, and then basically you guys will also be at the show on Saturday, correct?
Uh, we'll see.
Okay.
We've got two commitments on Saturday. That's the problem.
Right. Okay.
We've got
50-50 chance.
I've got yeah. So we have there's a thing here in town called Master Tech that we help support as well, some local stuff. And so it's like it, it it was a really hard it's hard for us to we yeah anyways.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I don't know. Tell Robert,
Well,
don't do that to me next year.
right, right. Well, yeah, change the date. Well, man, you're always really supportive of anything you can be a part of in the truck community, especially the F100 community. And I just want to say thank you for that, and thank you for having the time to jump on here on a Sunday, I think it is. I lost track, and to sit down and talk Ford trucks, man. I really appreciate it.
You bet, Craig. Thank you. And we really Hope your people that listen to your podcast, listen to anything you're putting out there, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, whatever you're putting. Like, I mean, just getting people the information they need to be successful with what they're doing. You
What it's
know,
about.
with I think it's awesome, and we need more people like you doing it, and we're glad you're doing it. Thank you.
Thank you, man. There's a bunch of us out here, and it's really a great community. And I will hopefully see you at your block party. If not, I will see you at the Grand Nationals, correct?
Yep, we'll see you there.
All right, man. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one, all right?
All right, later, man.
See ya.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate you guys checking out the podcast. We hope to get one of you guys on here, or future businesses, or just people like you and I that just might make products for these trucks. Some stories as well, some history of these classic trucks that we love so much. You guys can check out more things like this. There's a community, if you don't know, on Facebook called Ford for Hunter World. We got a couple of them, but the main one is about, at this current moment, 280,000 members. We've got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We're just all about getting the stories, the trucks, and you guys out there. Really appreciate you guys listening, and share it to somebody that you think would like it. Alrighty, guys. See ya. We just want to say thank you to today's sponsor, 3D Classic Car Parts. They make 3D printed truck parts for your classic truck. Check out 3dclassiccarparts.com.